And we are live one more time. Good afternoon, folks. Andy here within South Florida with Mario Quintero, the one-stop shop, Mr. Clear to Close. And today is Thursday, September the 12th. And as we do every single week on Thursdays, we come to you at the 4 o'clock hour. Sometimes at 4 o'clock, sometimes at 4:10, but here we are. And as always, we have very interesting topics that Mario shares with us. And today, we're talking about loan commitments and loan locks.
Very important.
Mario, talk to me in English. What are we talking about? In a real estate contract, what is the loan commitment and what are some turbulences that can occur?
So in a real estate contract, one of the items in the contract talks about what kind of financing the buyer is going to secure.
Okay.
And there's a contingency for them securing that financing. And then there's the loan commitment that they have to provide the seller or the seller's realtor by a certain date.
Okay.
If they don't have that loan commitment by a certain date, it could create some turbulence because the seller can then deny an extension of the contract and walk away. 9 out of 10 times, we're at a point where maybe they're just asking for 2 or 3 days because the bank has to finalize some details of the loan, and usually it's granted, okay? I have a situation right now where we had to extend the loan commitment by 10 days and the closing by 14 days. It was either extend that or walk away. And so my seller decided that it was best to, and I encouraged her to, listen, let's just give them the extension. I understand fully why this is happening, and it's not the buyer's fault. It has to do with the buyer and the HOA. So loan commitments are very important, and it's up to the buyer's lender to make sure that they're handling that on a timely basis.
And this is a topic, of course, that the average home buyer or seller would not really know about unless they deal with a professional in the business.
No, most of the times a buyer out there says, well, I got pre-approved.
Right, that's what you usually hear.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Really?
A pre-approval letter is like kissing your sister. It doesn't mean anything, okay? So a loan commitment means a lot.
Okay.
That means that the lender is gonna commit to doing your loan.
So that comes from the bank itself, from the
lender.
From the lender itself.
The bank, whoever is doing the mortgage.
Okay, interesting. How can the HOA approval process create turbulence on a transaction, and when can it happen?
So what happens is when you're buying a home, a townhouse, or a condominium that's governed by a homeowners association, there is a form or an approval process for that new buyer to go through. And usually the lender sends in some forms to the HOA, the buyer pays for that process to take place, and then the HOA submits those forms back to the lender, which is one of the final things that's done before they give you a loan commitment and a clear to close the loan. So recently, the buyer of one of my listings is dealing with a bank in Texas. And the bank screwed up and sent the wrong forms to the HOA. The HOA filled them out, sent them back, but then the lender could not give the loan commitment because they had the wrong forms.
Wow.
So that creates a delay in getting the loan commitment and the clear to close. So there's issues sometimes with the HOA when there's changes in an HOA property management administrative team. They do change once in a while,
right.
And when they're in that transition, if you get caught up in that transition, sometimes it could create turbulence for the buyer to get the necessary documents that they need in order to meet the obligations of the lender.
So this is obviously a multi-step process.
Yes, it is.
This isn't just, hey, I got it pre-approved, I'm going to go buy a property or a condo.
No.
It's almost like a dance.
Well, this is a part where people don't realize that a lot of times the realtor that represents the buyer has to get involved. They have to get involved in that process. They have to walk the buyer through the process. Sometimes I go down to the office and deal with the property manager myself.
Really?
To make sure that everything is getting done and the process is moving along quickly. You can't expect your buyer who's at work somewhere to leave the office and run down to the HOA office to find out what the status is, especially if the HOA has limited hours. They usually work, sometimes like 8 to 12,
Right.
and they're closed in the afternoon. So the realtor has to really get into the process to make sure that you eliminate any turbulence with the HOA.
So a realtor needs to be all hands on deck, you know.
Right.
So unfortunately, there's so many realtors out there on a part-time basis that they do this every once in a while. They have a full-time job. Sometimes those turbulences can happen without them being aware.
That occurs sometimes when you have a part-time realtor. It also occurs when you have one of these app companies that are totally automated.
Those are not involved at all.
They're out of state. They're not getting involved in that part of the process at all.
You're basically on your own.
You're on your own.
Yeah, and we talked about those apps companies, folks, last broadcast and a couple of videos ago. By the way, marioshomenews.com, if you've never been to the website, go ahead and check it out. marioshomenews.com. There's a whole bunch of information in there, plus there's videos, and there's these one-stop shop live stream sessions that we do. There's customer testimonials, there's client testimonials, there's referral partner testimonials. If you're in the market looking to buy or sell a property, or you're renting, or you're in the process of getting a loan, or you're thinking of doing anything in the real estate or the financial arena, please do yourself a favor and do some homework, do some research. Check out marioshomenews.com, inform yourself, learn more about Mario Quintero and his crew and his staff, and why they call him the one-stop shop. The small investment in time that you make today is going to save you a lot of money down the road. And we've seen that over and over again.
Thank you for talking about that, but I have to inject. Right before you came in, we hit some turbulence. And here's things that happen which you have no control over.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to close on a transaction next Wednesday. And all of a sudden the lender asks for updated pay stubs from one of the borrowers. Okay? The borrower calls his job to get the updated pay stubs, big company, and the company says, we just got hacked and our entire computer system is down and may not be available again until Monday.
Wow.
We need the pay stubs like today to get the clear to close so we could close on Wednesday. So you just don't know where the turbulence is going to come from. And these are the things that we have to overcome. So we went to a plan B, and hopefully the funding company will accept what we're going to give them.
And folks, that comes from years and years of experience. You can't purchase that. You can't buy those problem-solving skills when it comes to the most important purchase of your life, is your property. Mario, I got a glimpse of that as I was unloading the equipment and getting ready for this broadcast, and I saw how you handled it. Fantastic. So how many plans do you have? Plan A and Plan B? Is there a Plan C and D?
There's always a C and D.
There's always a C and D somewhere in the arsenal, in the toolbox.
The thing is that there has to be a plan to get to the final objective. You got to get there. That's the bottom line.
There's no ifs, I'm sorry, it cannot happen.
No, we got to figure it out one way or the other.
And that's why, folks, Mr. Clear to Close. Absolutely. So, Mario, what is my loan rate for my mortgage guaranteed, and what is the difference between the rate I was qualified for and the lock-in rate?
So, when you get pre-qualified for a loan and you get a DU approval that says you're approved for this much money at this rate for this term of time, that's your approval.
Okay.
That just gets the process started for you to get into a contract to purchase a home, and that's the proof that all the diligence was done prior to you submitting the contract. Now the loan begins the loan process based on the home that you're gonna buy. And during that process, you know, from the time you got your approval to the time you went to contract and started the loan process, 1 or 2 months could have passed by.
Okay.
During that time, the financial markets go up and down.
Of course.
And as they go up and down, rates go up and rates come down, okay? So that rate that you originally promised on your DU could be either higher or lower today based on what the market has done
Got it.
over that period of time.
Got it.
Like right now, this week, the market has been on an upswing for over a week and a half now. The rates has shot up about a 0.5 percentage point over the last week alone, okay? So you gotta be cognizant of that your actual guaranteed rate is actually not guaranteed until the rate is locked.
Okay.
And there are different type of locks. There's a 30-day lock, there's a 45-day lock, there's a 15-day lock, and those are things that we discuss with our clients as to when do they want us to lock the rate. And we have input in that process, because if we see a tendency for that rate to continue to go up because of the market, we're gonna recommend that they lock as soon as possible, because we don't want them to get into a situation where the rate kind of runs away from them.
And of course, this is not the responsibility of the buyer. This is the responsibility of you guys
The lender, yeah,
that are handling this deal.
correct.
You're looking out for the best interest.
And we're in constant communication with the buyer to make them aware of these situations. Again, we've had buyers that are high-risk buyers, meaning that they don't care about the risk. They're like, no, let's wait until the last possible moment to lock. And you know, those are the ones you gotta
It could go either way.
either way, and they gotta understand that. And we clearly state what the possibilities are if they don't lock the loan at a certain point.
On the other side of the coin, after you lock, if the rates go down,
That's it, you're done.
you're done.
That's your rate.
That's your rate.
Right.
Wow.
So you can't
Wow.
have it both ways. You can't have it that you're protecting the rate from not going up, and then if it goes down, you can't do that. Once you lock,
That's it.
that's it. If it goes down, that's the way it goes. If it goes up, you're protected.
What's the best advice to lock at what particular time? Do you wait till the last minute?
No.
No, you don't wait till the last minute.
I usually like to lock our clients' rates in, especially if their debt to income ratio is tight, and also if, you know, their salaries are, you know, right there. And you know, it's not like some business owners that have unlimited income from month to month. Those people will take a little more risk on.
Okay.
But someone whose debt to income ratio is kind of on the tight side, we'd like to at least lock them in 30 days prior to close.
Wow, great information, great information. Folks, if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome to our broadcast. My name is Andy within South Florida, and we're here with Mario Quintero, Mr. One Stop Shop. We do these live streams every week on Thursdays at the 4 o'clock hour, always covering topics on the real estate and the mortgage side of the business. And as always, today we're talking about loan commitments and loan locks, two topics that I didn't know that much about, especially loan locks. Probably you're watching, you probably maybe did not know about it either, but we welcome your comments, welcome your questions, and Mario will definitely be able to reply to you if you have any comments. You can call him on the phone, you can leave a comment on the broadcast below. So we're going to continue here. Mario, the stock market, Dow Jones and S&P are doing very good. How does that affect our interest rates at this moment?
So the better those two indexes do,
Right.
the higher the interest rates for residential mortgage goes.
Oh,
Okay, and like I just mentioned, in the last week alone, the interest rates have gone up about a 0.5 percentage point, from about 4 to 4.5. Some have gone from 4.5 to 5%, and it's all relative. So as long as the stock market does great, and your 401k is doing great, and your, you know, holdings in the stock market are doing good, and your pension is doing wonderful because everything's going up, just understand that the rates are following, okay?
interesting.
So when you have a 400 point drop in the Dow, or a 500, or even we've had, I think, 600 point drops this year alone, that's a great time for the rate to dip and lock.
Huh?
Okay, so those are the things that we watch on a daily basis to be able to give that advice to our clients.
Secrets of the trade.
It matches one thing up with the other. Market goes up, the interest rates go up.
Right.
That means that as that part of the market's going up, the bonds are going down. When the market is going down, the bonds are going up, that means that the rates are coming down.
You learn something every single day. So what is your advice for people that may be watching? Maybe they're renting, maybe they just paid their rent check, maybe they're waiting to pull that trigger, maybe they're expecting a child, newlyweds. What is your advice to them? Wait or pull the trigger and start to research now?
It's never a bad time to start researching.
Never a bad time.
No, what your plan is. The best way to build wealth in this country is through real estate holdings.
Right.
And the number one wealth producing equity is your home. Okay, so it's never too late to start thinking about getting into a home to start building equity. And you start by going through a pre-qualification process where we look at all the financials and tell you, okay, you're good to go, or you're about 6 months out, or maybe you're 12 months out. But you shouldn't be fearful of starting this process in order to get into position so that you could start building your long-term wealth. Keep in mind, you might be 25 or 30 years old today, but before you know it, you're going to be 50 or 55. Time goes like this.
It sure does.
Okay? So, you keep waiting, and next thing you know, it may be too late. Okay? So, there's nothing wrong with starting as soon as possible. Take that rent check and put it into a mortgage payment that is building equity for yourself.
So Mario, there's probably people out there watching that maybe are renting or maybe that they're thinking of buying, and maybe they just cannot afford this process, this pre-qualification, this consulting process. Maybe they cannot afford it. How much do they charge for this?
We don't charge anything for the analysis and the pre-qualification process.
Somebody can call you and begin this process without a fee.
We spend a lot of time where they are today and where they need to go, and we don't charge them anything for that. We're basically consulting them on what needs to be done to move forward, and there's no fee for that. Eventually, we'll get them to the point where they're going to buy a home, and the seller will pay us our commission at that point when we're under contract, and then at the same time, we'll handle their mortgage, and the lender will pay us our commission for doing the mortgage to purchase that home. So in actuality, they're not paying us anything.
That is key. Very important, folks. If you're out there watching and you're still not a homeowner, you still don't have your family, your wife or your husband is still not in a home, this is time where you can pick up the phone, just make the phone call. It's the middle of September. Wouldn't it be great to be in your home by the holidays and celebrate maybe your first Christmas or holidays or Hanukkah as a homeowner? I mean, they still have time, right? I mean,
they still have a lot of time, and there's a huge financial implication by being in a home prior to December 31st.
There you go.
Which means that they will be eligible for their tax home exception for 2020. So if you're the homeowner in this year, in 2019, as long as you're the official homeowner by December 31st, you will be eligible for your home tax exemption for next year.
Wow. Repeat after me. I will not rent anymore. I will not rent anymore. I will not rent anymore. Contact Mario and get into your home. Mario, talking about numbers and rates, I hear there are now 101 CLTV home financing available for single families, townhomes, and condos. Speak to us in English, Mario. What does that mean?
These programs sometimes scare me a little bit because the person doesn't have any skin in the game, and what this program is it's kind of a creative way to get people into first-time home buying. Not just first-time home buyers, but anybody that wants to buy a home.
Okay.
So, in very general terms,
in English, so we can understand.
The person qualifies for a 97% loan to value
It's huge.
on the purchase of the property, and then the other 3% comes from a community-based loan. It's like a government-type sponsored loan, so they have a first and a second mortgage. These mortgages then also qualify for 3% seller contributions towards the closing cost. So it's a creative way to try to get people into a home. And they just started coming out in the last 30 days. So it's out there. We have a different variation of it, but they're out there right now where people are offering these products.
So in English, does that mean that somebody can buy with zero money down?
Yes. Yes.
That's unheard of.
Yes. Yes. No skin in the game.
That's unheard of.
Well, they're coming out with them right now.
But many of you didn't know that, right? That you can purchase your own property with zero money down. So here you are, you have a family, you have children, you're expecting, and you want to get into a home, but your savings are limited, you don't have enough to qualify, enough to put in there.
And these also have approximately a 50% debt to income ratio. So it also takes into consideration a higher debt to income ratio than your standard conventional loan.
Mario, what is the number that somebody can call you at right now when they're saying, look man, I'm tapped out, but I want to be a homeowner?
So the number here at the office is 305-598-1600, and my cell phone is 305-588-0451.
Wow, I know a lot of people are going to say, you know what, I'm buying a house from this guy. Because if I can get in there with no money down and see how that works. Mario, what if I want to buy a condo with a conventional loan, but the HOA does not have sufficient returns?
So in the condo arena,
And is it okay still to buy condos?
Yeah,
Whether
yeah.
the HOA stuff, I mean,
condos are fine.
you just have to know how to.
Well, you got to go into, a good condo association, but there's a lot of associations that don't have reserves, and most of them require 25% down in order to make a purchase because they don't have sufficient reserves in their financial structure. So there's a new product out there now where they will give you 75% first loan, they will give you a 15% second loan, and all you need is 10% down to purchase a condo. So let's say you're buying a $250,000 condo,
Right.
you need $25,000, and the bank will give you a first loan of 75% to eliminate the condo questionnaire issue, and then they'll give you another 15% as a second mortgage as long as you have the other 10%. So they'll finance 90%, you come up with 10%.
They're making it too easy.
They're making it easier, and that gets me a little nervous sometimes because, well, at least in this one, the person has some skin in the game.
Right.
Okay, and that was the problem years ago when we had the real estate bubble. We had too many people that didn't have skin in the game, and it was too easy for them to walk away because of the 100% financing and all of that stuff. But hopefully, in this case, they still got to have 10% down. They have some skin in the game. It's just making it easier to get into that condo.
You said something about a lot of HOAs that don't have sufficient reserves. How does a potential home buyer or a condo buyer do that research? Is this common knowledge? Is available knowledge? Or does the person go into the process and then they find out?
It's knowledge that has to be investigated prior to putting a contract
Okay.
into for that particular condo.
Is this something that you guys do?
Well, yeah, I do it up front. Like, for example, I'm selling a condo right now in Hialeah. And what I did before I listed it, I got the information from the association to give me the 2019 financial statements and budgets.
Okay.
So now when I have realtors contact me that they want to go see the unit and they ask me how much down payment is required, I give them my opinion, but I also email them the financial documents so they can review that with the buyer's lender to make sure that that's gonna comply with the type of loan that they wanna get involved with their lender. So I do it up front because I don't wanna hit turbulence once we're involved in a
Right,
contract.
right. It's a matter of just doing your research.
Right.
And doing your
And
homework.
I do it for my listings.
Right. I mean, here we're telling people to go out and buy condos and buy houses, and the last thing we want them to do is to hop in a plane with all these turbulences. You know, I know you're a great pilot, but you want to avoid all the headaches and all the drops and everything else, because you want that smooth transition, that smooth process.
You wanna avoid the ups and downs.
Folks, I've been working with Mario for a while, and there's one thing constant is turbulences. Every week that we meet, it's something else. I'm like, hey, are we talking about turbulences today? And you better believe it. You better believe it that if you're thinking of buying a property and you're thinking of going down this road on your own, you better rethink that. The small investment and the small fee that you make in working with a professional such as Mario and his crew, either on the real estate or the financial and the mortgage side, that small investment that you make will save you hours and hours and hours of headaches and issues and nights where you can't sleep because you have issues that you have no idea how to get them solved.
You know, the thing is that we're not the only ones that have these turbulences. I talk to other professionals in the business, both on the mortgage side and the real estate side, and everyone goes through them.
Sure.
I mean, it happens in every transaction. We haven't had a transaction in a long time that has not had at least one turbulence during the process.
Right.
The thing is, when they happen, you got to be able to overcome them because the goal is to get to the closing table.
And it definitely helps to have the years of experience that you have under your belt to be able to recognize those turbulences, see them a mile away, and plan for it.
And not freak out when they happen.
And not freak out and throw your hands up in the air
Right.
like you just don't care, right?
Right.
You need to be aware of all that. Wow. So Mario, what topic we have next week, or are we going to have it open?
I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll have some.
But turbulences are for sure.
There'll be some turbulence involved in there. I don't know what's going to happen between now and next Thursday, but I'm sure we'll have
Turbulences are for sure. Folks, I want to take a minute. If it's the first time watching, my name is Andy within South Florida with Mario Quintero, the one-stop shop. We come to you every single Thursday at the 4 o'clock hour. I want to invite you, if you have not checked out marioshomenews.com, check out his website. Tons of useful information, no matter what stage of the process you're in. If you're selling, you're buying, if you're looking for a mortgage, marioshomenews.com will have answers for you and will give you advice on how to navigate the sometimes rocky and complicated waters of being a homeowner or a home seller or even applying for a loan. It's not easy out there. It's a zoo out there at times.
Well, you know, you're dealing with a lot of legalities here with the contract, with the loan. Things are bound to happen.
And we're in South Florida. Let's face it. Let's face it. Last week's show, it's on the website. Somebody they built a bathroom inside a garage.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit of a turbulence there.
Create a major turbulence.
So if you're thinking, go grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of wine, check out marioshomenews.com, sit down and have some fun and learn about the market. Mario, so on another front, this month's speaker for our Greater Kendall Business Association is going to be incredible. As many of you know, I preside as the chairman of the Greater Kendall Business Association. Mario is on our board. He's one of the board of directors. And folks, we want to extend an invitation to you to come to our luncheon this month. It's on Thursday, September the 26th. At 12 o'clock. You can find more information at greaterkendall.com. And the reason you want to be at that luncheon is because we're going to have our mayor, Carlos Jimenez, as our speaker. Carlos Jimenez is going to come over and speak to us at the Greater Kendall Business Association. That's going to be very interesting, very informative. We're going to have a full house. So if you're a local business owner and you're thinking, hey, I need to get involved with the community, I want to meet this guy Mario, I want to get his autograph, you know, he's going to have his own show pretty soon within the studio. This is your chance, not only to meet Mario and get his autograph, but take a picture with Mayor Jimenez over at our monthly luncheon. That's greaterkendall.com.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome, awesome. Folks, thank you for the love. Andy here within South Florida. Mario Quintero from the One Stop Shop. Thank you for the love. If you find this useful, hit that share button on the bottom. Share this with your network. Share this with your friends. You never know who's renting that is in your network that might hear this and say, hey, I can call Mario and get into a house with zero money down.
There you go.
And what's that number again?
305-598-1600 here at the office. My cell phone is 305-588-0451.
Make that a call. You never know.
Thanks, Andy. Have a great week.
Thank you for the love, guys.
Thank you, everyone.